Lyra sat quietly on their old couch, her feet swollen, her back aching. The landlord had just come by, handing them a quit notice. They had a few days to pay or leave. Zuko looked worried, pacing around, saying things would get better soon. But Lyra didn't wait for things to fix themselves. She went into her savings, the little money she had kept for the baby's things, and paid the rent. No complaints, no questions. She was 6 months pregnant, working part-time from home, and still making dinner every night. Every time Zuko said, "I'm almost done with my masters, and once I graduate, everything will change," she believed him. She thought they were a team, that they were struggling together to build a better life. She wiped her sweat and smiled through the tiredness, holding on to hope. But what she didn't know was that while she was pouring everything into their future, Zuko was quietly building a separate life with someone else, another woman, another promise, another home. When the university sent Zuko a message saying his tuition payment was due immediately or he'd be removed from the program, he looked stressed. He said, "Babe, I don't know what to do. I'm so close to finishing." Lyra didn't think twice. She told him not to worry. Even though money was tight and she had been saving for the baby's crib, she opened her small wooden box and took out the little gold rings and earrings from her jewelry line. Her pride, her hard work. She sold them all at a local market for quick cash. That day, she cancelled her prenatal yoga classes too. It was the only time she had to relax and take care of her body, but she didn't care. She thought, what matters is his degree. Once he finishes, we'll be okay. She believed they were building something together. She believed in us. She believed every sacrifice she made now would bring peace and comfort later for both of them and their baby. Zuko smiled, kissed her forehead, and told her how lucky he was to have her. Lyra felt proud. She felt useful. She thought her love, her effort, and her belief in Zuko would bring them success. But what she didn't know, what she couldn't see, was that her money wasn't just helping Zuko study, it was helping him hide something too. Behind her back, there was another woman, another name, another smile receiving the benefits of Lyra's hard-earned money. While Lyra walked around stores pricing baby cribs and baby clothes, thinking she had to wait just a little longer, Zuko was texting someone else, someone she didn't even know existed. Lyra thought she was investing in a future with Zuko. She thought she was giving both of them a chance at something better, but in truth, she was only part of the story. The other half was someone completely unknown to her, and yet, she was the one carrying the baby. She was the one giving up everything. She was the one dreaming of a home, while the man she loved was slowly building a different one, with someone else. That morning, Zuko told Lyra he had a long class ahead. He kissed her cheek, grabbed his bag and said, "I'll be home late, babe." She smiled, wished him luck, and watched him walk out the door. Lyra trusted him. Even though she was heavily pregnant and tired, she always made sure he had everything he needed for school. That was her routine. Care, support, love. Later that evening, while cleaning the small table where Zuko usually worked, she noticed his laptop was still open. She wasn't snooping, just moving things around to make space for dinner. But something popped up, a notification sound. It was his email. Out of habit, her eyes glanced at the screen. The subject line read, "Your Uber receipt from today." She froze. She clicked it. It said, "Pickup, Zuko Mandi, drop-off, Rosegate Estate." Her heart beat faster. Rosegate? She didn't know the name. It wasn't the name of his campus. It wasn't near the library either. In fact, she had never even heard Zuko mention it before. She tried to breathe. Maybe he had a group study meeting somewhere new. Maybe he needed to pick something up. But then, her curiosity led her to search Rosegate Estate online. What she saw shocked her. It was a quiet private housing estate, gated, clean, upper class. Not a school, not a library, not even close. Her hands shook as she checked his email inbox again. More Uber receipts. From the same day of the week, same pickup location, same drop-off, Rosegate Estate, once a week, sometimes twice, going to the same place, like clockwork. Lyra's chest tightened. She felt dizzy, but sat down and looked closer. These receipts went back weeks. While she stayed home alone, thinking he was in lectures, Zuko was going somewhere else. And not just once, not just by accident, every week, with no explanation. The questions started spinning in her head. What was at Rosegate Estate? Who lived there? Why had he never mentioned it? And why did she have to find out through an email he forgot to log out of? Lyra stared at the screen, her hand resting on her baby bump, a bump full of hope. a heart full of love, a home full of sacrifices. Yet here she was, finding clues like pieces of a puzzle she didn't even know she had to solve. She didn't cry yet, she didn't speak, but something inside her shifted. Because deep down, she knew no one goes to the same estate every week unless there's something or someone waiting. And whatever was at Rosegate, it wasn't school. Lyra couldn't sleep after seeing those repeated Uber receipts to Rosegate Estate. She tried to push the thoughts away, tried to stay calm for the baby's sake, but her heart was too heavy. She needed to know the truth. She needed to see what was there. So, one quiet morning, she dressed simply and took a cab to Rosegate. She told herself she was just going to ask about houses, like any normal buyer. That's all. When she arrived, the security guard let her in after she said she was interested in buying a property. The place was beautiful, clean streets, flowers neatly trimmed, children playing with bikes. It didn't feel like the kind of place someone struggling with tuition should be visiting, but she walked in anyway, holding her breath, her hands gently over her belly. Inside the estate office, a real estate agent welcomed her warmly. "Hi there, how can I help you?" he asked. Lyra smiled and replied, "I heard you had some nice units here. I'm just checking what's available." The agent nodded and said, "Of course, but most of our new units are already taken. In fact, Mr. Zuko Mandi and Miss Ayanda just finalized theirs last week." Lyra blinked. She wasn't sure she heard correctly. "Sorry, who?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. The agent, still smiling, answered, "Zuko and Miss Ayanda, lovely couple, very decisive, paid everything up front. That's rare these days." Lyra felt the words hit her like cold water. Miss Ayanda, paid in full, a couple? She couldn't speak. Her mouth felt dry. Her chest tightened. She stood there, nodding slowly, pretending to understand, pretending it didn't hurt. But inside, something broke. This was it. This was where the Uber receipts led. This was why Zuko always said he was too tired after class. This was where her money, her sacrifices had been going. Not toward their life, not toward their baby, but toward a secret home, a secret woman. While she lived in a rented apartment with peeling paint and broken taps, Zuko had bought a brand new home, and he didn't buy it for them. He bought it with Ayanda, whoever Ayanda was. A name Lyra had never heard before, yet one that now burned into her heart. She thanked the agent quietly and walked away. Her steps felt heavy. The baby kicked gently, as if sensing her pain. Lyra didn't cry right there, but deep down she knew. This wasn't just betrayal, it was erasure. She had given everything to a man who had already given his future to someone else. That night, Lyra couldn't sleep. Her body felt tired, and her mind was even more restless. Something inside her kept saying, "Look again." So she slowly got up from the bed, careful not to disturb anything. She bent down to grab her slippers, and that's when she noticed something under the bed, just the corner of a paper sticking out from a file. She reached for it and pulled it out. A folder, neat, heavy. Her hands started to shake as she opened it. There were papers inside, official ones, property documents. Her eyes scanned the words, and her heart sank. Lyra sat still for a moment, the folder in her lap. Her mouth was dry, her heart beating fast. But she didn't cry. She didn't even speak. She just breathed slowly and carefully folded the papers back, then placed them neatly in the folder again. Her stomach cramped suddenly. Then, a warm rush between her legs. She looked down. Her water had broken. Still, she didn't panic. She didn't call Zuko, who had told her earlier he was going to stay on campus that night to study. She didn't even send a message. Instead, she picked up her hospital bag that had been packed weeks ago, wiped her face, grabbed her phone, and called a cab. Alone. The ride to the hospital was quiet. Lyra stared out the window, her hand resting on her belly, feeling small kicks and soft turns. Her baby was coming. At a time when her world felt like it was falling apart, something beautiful was still arriving. At the hospital, nurses rushed to help her, but she kept calm. She answered their questions, filled out the forms, and got ready for delivery. No husband by her side, no family member holding her hand, just her strength, and the baby inside her, giving her a reason to keep going. While Zuko probably sat comfortably somewhere else, maybe even at the house she now knew existed, Lyra was fighting through pain, breathing through contractions, and preparing to bring life into the world. She didn't scream. She didn't call for the man who had lied. She just did what she had always done, face life with quiet strength. The hospital room was cold, bright, and filled with the sound of machines and soft footsteps. Lyra lay on the bed, holding her belly as waves of pain came and went. She had been in labor for hours, sweating, crying silently, holding onto the sides of the bed with every contraction. No one was beside her, no Zuko, no family, just nurses who came in and out, offering kind smiles and quiet support. She tried not to think about him. She tried not to imagine him sitting somewhere else, maybe even with Ayanda, maybe even sleeping peacefully, while she fought through the hardest night of her life. The man who made promises of forever wasn't anywhere near. Still, she kept breathing. She kept pushing, because now it wasn't about her pain. It was about the life inside her, the little one who deserved to come into the world with love. As the sun slowly rose outside the window, a small cry filled the room. A baby boy, her baby, her son. They placed him on her chest, and she looked into his tiny face. He was perfect. Small fingers, soft skin, warm against her. In that moment, all the pain, all the heartbreak faded just a little. She had done it, alone, but she had done it. Later, a nurse came in with a clipboard. She smiled and said gently, "We need to fill the birth certificate now. Can we start with the father's name?" Lyra stared at the paper. For a few seconds she stayed quiet. Her mind flashed with everything. Zuko's lies, the house, Ayanda, the fake promises, the nights he didn't come home, the money she gave, the nights she cried herself to sleep. Everything. She could have left it blank. She had every reason to. But then she looked at her son, sleeping beside her in the tiny hospital bed. So innocent, so pure. He didn't ask to be born into lies. He deserved to know where he came from, even if the truth was painful. So she took a deep breath and whispered, "Zuko Mandi." The nurse nodded and wrote it down. Lyra looked away, tears rolling down the side of her face and into her pillow. But she didn't regret it, because no matter what Zuko did, the child didn't deserve to grow up not knowing who his father was. Lyra's heart was broken, yes, but she wouldn't let her son carry that same pain. She would give him truth. She would give him love, even if it came only from her. 3 weeks had passed since Lyra gave birth. Her body was healing, but her heart still felt broken. She stayed quiet most days, holding her baby close, trying to smile for him. Nights were the hardest. She would feed her son, rock him to sleep, and then sit in silence, thinking about everything Zuko had done. One afternoon, while the baby was sleeping, Lyra picked up her phone to check messages. Most were from her old customers or friends wishing her well. But then she saw one name she didn't recognize, Ayanda. Her heart skipped. The name sounded familiar. Then it hit her. Rosegate Estate, the property papers, the real estate agent. The name Zuko never mentioned, but one that haunted her ever since. With trembling hands she opened the message. It said, "Hi, I just found out you had the baby. I didn't know you were still in the picture. Zuko told me you were just the surrogate." Lyra stared at the screen. Her heart dropped. She read it again just to be sure. Just the surrogate. Her chest tightened. Her breathing slowed. That one word felt like a slap. Everything she had gone through, the support, the cooking, the love, the sleepless nights, the rent, the tuition, the birth, reduced to one ugly lie. Surrogate. As if she was just some woman carrying a child for them. As if her love, her pain, her dreams meant nothing. She sat still for a long time. No tears came at first, just silence. Deep, heavy silence. Then slowly, tears rolled down her cheeks. Not because of Zuko. She was past crying for him, but because of how small he made her feel, how easily he erased her. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was humiliation. He didn't only cheat, he made her invisible. A background character in a life she helped build. A helper. A tool. A body. Lyra held her baby tighter. She looked at his tiny face, his peaceful sleep, and whispered, "You are not a secret, and I am not a mistake." That message didn't just hurt. It changed everything. It confirmed what her heart already knew but never wanted to admit. Zuko had built a whole new life, and in that life, she was nothing more than a service. Not a partner, not a mother, just a body that carried a child. But Lyra knew one thing now for sure. She would never let that lie define her. After that message from Ayanda, Lyra felt like something inside her finally shut down, but not in a sad way, in a clear, peaceful way. She didn't cry again. She didn't scream or call Zuko to ask why. She didn't ask for explanations or apologies. She had already heard too many lies. She was done begging for honesty from someone who had none left to give. She didn't post anything online. No long messages, no sad pictures. She just disappeared from the noise, quietly, calmly. She packed up her small things, took her baby, and moved to a small room in another part of the city. It wasn't much, but it was hers, and it was enough. She started fresh with what she had, her hands, her heart, and her dreams. Every morning she tied her baby to her back with a soft cloth and went out to find small jobs. She cleaned houses, helped at local shops, and did whatever honest work she could find. When the baby napped, she made jewelry, beautiful pieces, simple but full of meaning. She started posting pictures online again, but this time for her business, not her pain. People noticed. Orders came slowly at first, then more and more. Her inbox was filled with women asking, "Can you make something for me too?" Her designs spoke of strength, of quiet beauty, of starting again. Women saw themselves in her work. They felt her story through her hands. She called her small business 3 Stones Gold. Each stone stood for something: struggle, survival, and strength. She didn't advertise her story, but those who wore her pieces could feel it. In 3 years, Lyra went from barely surviving to owning her own online store. She started shipping across the country, then abroad. She hired other women, single mothers, widows, young girls trying to rise. She taught them the craft, paid them fairly, and gave them hope. She didn't speak about Zuko again. When people asked where the baby's father was, she simply smiled and said, "He's not part of our story anymore." She no longer waited for him to say, "Sorry." She no longer waited for anyone to fix what was broken, because she had already done it herself. With her silence, her hard work, and her courage, Lyra had learned something powerful. Sometimes the best revenge isn't shouting or fighting. It's moving on so gracefully that the person who hurt you can't even find a place in your future. And Zuko, he was just a name on a birth certificate. But Lyra, she became a name that people wore proudly on their necks and wrists. Proof that quiet strength speaks the loudest. It was graduation day, and Zuko felt proud. He had finally completed his master's degree. He wore a suit, though it wasn't his. He had borrowed it from a friend, wanting to look good for the big day. That evening, he received a last-minute invitation to a business gala happening in the city. He didn't know why he was invited, but he thought, maybe it's a networking chance. So he went. The event hall was beautiful, filled with successful people, cameras flashing, and elegant music playing in the background. Zuko sat toward the back, clapping politely, as different people walked across the stage to receive awards. He looked around, hoping to see someone he knew. That's when he heard the next name. And now, the award for Africa's fastest-growing handmade jewelry brand goes to Lyra Essie, founder of 3 Stones Gold. Zuko froze. The name echoed in his ears. Lyra. He leaned forward, trying to see better. And there she was, on stage, dressed simply but confidently, with a bright smile and eyes that no longer held pain. The same woman he had once left behind, now standing in front of a large audience, accepting a major award. Zuko's mouth went dry. He couldn't believe it. Then his eyes moved to the front row. There was a little boy, his son, dressed in a small suit, clapping and smiling proudly at his mother. Beside the boy sat a man Zuko recognized, not personally, but from business interviews online. A well-known investor, powerful, respected, wealthy, and he was sitting there like family, holding the boy gently, smiling up at Lyra like a proud husband. Zuko blinked. He didn't understand how everything had changed so fast. Just a few years ago, Lyra was struggling, quiet, invisible. Now, she was the star of the night, and her name was on everyone's lips. People stood to clap for her. Cameras flashed. A reporter whispered, "She's such an inspiration." Zuko sat still. No one even noticed him. He wasn't part of this world. Not anymore. He wanted to go up and speak to her, say something, anything. But how could he? He had left her when she needed him most, lied to her, disrespected her. And now she was shining, with a child he had never truly fathered, and a man beside her who clearly loved them both. Zuko realized something painful. She didn't just survive, she rose. And not out of hate, but out of strength. That night, Zuko didn't walk up to her. He just sat there, watching from the shadows, as the woman he once thought would never make it became the woman everyone stood up for. After the event ended and the lights began to dim, people gathered around Lyra to congratulate her. She smiled, hugged a few supporters, and posed for quick pictures. Her son tugged gently at her hand, and she leaned down to fix his collar, her movements calm and graceful. That's when she noticed someone standing a little distance away watching her. It was Zuko. He looked unsure, holding a glass of juice in one hand and nervously adjusting his jacket with the other. He finally took a few slow steps toward her. His eyes didn't carry the pride of a man who had just graduated. They held something else. Regret, maybe shame. When he reached her, he forced a small smile and said softly, "Congratulations." Lyra looked at him. Her expression didn't change. No anger, no hate, just calm. She gave a polite smile and gently leaned down to kiss her son's forehead. Then she straightened up, looked Zuko in the eyes, and replied, "This is what I was building when you were buying homes with ghosts." Her words were quiet. No shouting, no pain in her voice, just truth. Zuko didn't respond. He stood there, frozen, realizing she wasn't angry. She didn't want revenge. She didn't even need closure from him, because she had already closed that chapter herself. There was nothing else to say. She turned back to her son, took his hand, and walked toward the exit. The investor, now her husband, joined them, placing a gentle hand on her back. Together, they walked out of the hall as a family. Zuko remained behind, watching them leave. She didn't throw words at him. She didn't try to hurt him the way he hurt her, because she didn't need to. Her success was loud enough, her peace even louder. Lyra had turned betrayal into power, pain into beauty, and silence into strength. She didn't rise by stepping on anyone. She rose by choosing herself. And as the doors closed behind her, the glow around her didn't come from the stage lights. It came from within. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to remember. Silence doesn't mean weakness, and healing is the best kind of revenge. Tag a woman who turned her pain into power. Follow for more real, raw, and inspiring stories that hit home.